first ever live episode of the Menace to Sobriety podcast. How you guys doing tonight?
We're good.
Woo! Give us a cheer if you've listened to the podcast before. Nice. Give us a cheer if you're drinking tonight. That's it. That was a test. So I thought I'd introduce myself. My name's John. I've been working with Dan on the Menace to Sobriety podcast since the very beginning. I've been producing all the episodes. It's been a really interesting and educational journey. There was never a time in my life when I thought I was going to be weeping into the arms of Dapper Laughs, but here we are. I've been working on a few other projects with Dan. It's been really nice, So we started doing this project together. He's got me working some films with him. He's got me doing some comedy with him. It's been a lot of fun. So it's been a privilege, and it's a privilege for me to be here tonight. Right, before we get Dan on, I just want to explain how tonight's going to work. It's going to be an interview in the first half. It's going to be me interviewing Dan, Kirk, and Elliot. And then in the second half, we're going to have your questions. So anything you want to ask, anything you want to share, have a think, and then come to me in the interval. I'll write it down, and then we'll get to you in the second half. All right, then. I did that all in one breath. Okay, cool. So let's bring him on. You know him. He's your friend. He's our friend. You love him. It's the man behind Menace to Sobriety. It's Mr. Daniel O'Reilly.
Just quickly, look, we've gone live. We're actually live streaming now, and I was just about to post it to me story, you twat, and then you got me out, so I'm going to quickly pop it on my story. Hello! This is me, look. We're live. So I'm just going to pop this up. But yeah, I just want them to watch it live, John.
All right, everyone watch it live.
All right, let's get started.
Yeah, how you doing, Dan?
My only addiction left. The phone. I'm really good, man. I'm really good. Thank you for your patience with that. We've gone live, and yeah, I just wanted to. This is our first time doing it, so we're just sort of. This is an intimate experience that we're just trying to get right and testing everything out. So it's all fucking working. So I'm buzzing. Let's start.
All right, let's start with some questions. So, Dan, share with us a bit about your background and what led you to start the Menace to Sobriety podcast.
All right. Well, first of all, who watches? Yeah? Wow. It's quite cool, isn't it? It's cool that we've got this little community now. And I'll be honest with you, the reason I started the podcast was to get sober. I went through a really bad sort of rock bottom when the shit hit the fan, really. Basically, when my wife had enough of it, and I was over in Marbella. I'd had a crack at sobriety, and I thought I'd be all right coming back for Christmas, a few beers over Christmas and stuff, and it just fucking turned into carnage, and one argument after another, and she flew back from Marbella. I stayed out there doing whatever I was doing, and between us, I've never really put this out online. When I come back, I couldn't go home. Do you know what I mean? She'd had enough. And as you can probably tell from my social media, my wife is my world, right? She really is. She stuck with me through losing my career, losing all my money. She met me when I was on ITV2, so I was pretty fucking famous. Do you know what I mean? I had a TV show about pulling birds, right? So I was also shagging a lot at the time. And she was the one that kind of put a stop to that, right? Cock blocked me for 10 years. Kinda. No, yeah, 10 years. We had a couple of breakups. No,
Question turned into you getting laid.
Yeah, I don't know. I've done that. Sorry.
No, classic.
But yeah, no, and just to get to the point before I get a divorce. Yeah, and she's my world, man. And it truly showed me what addiction was doing to me. It turned me into a complete and utter arsehole, a complete and utter wanker. And I never thought I had an addiction. I never thought that I was an addict. I used to think other people are addicts, and I used to love the sesh, and I used to love drinking, and all my content was about it. I had a song that was charted, fucking top 20, proper naughty sesh. I fucking loved it. Characters, I was talking about, I used to fucking, I've done a line of gear with my mum. I mean, this is, You know what I mean? So, but honestly, I didn't think I had a problem, but I was choosing that over the woman that I loved, and I had 2 beautiful kids at home as well, and that's when it hit me. When I come back and she was like, I've had enough, you know, you said you weren't going to continue doing it, you've gone sober before, you know, you're selfish, and I suddenly just stopped and looked at my life and went, what the fuck is this? How did I get here? What's going on? This is not me, right? I'm a good person. Am I? Nah, I wasn't being. And that fucking hurt me so much. It hit me so hard, like a fucking freight train. Actually, maybe you're a shit dad. Maybe you're a shit husband. Because you can't go home, mate, and you're not going to see your kids. And that beautiful house that you've worked all your fucking life for, some other geezer's probably going to move into it and bring up your fucking kids. And you're probably going to still have to fucking pay for it. Do you know what I mean? And it hit me like, you know, us men, it's really fucking difficult for us to accept our wrongdoings because of our ego. It's much easier for us to say, do you know what, you're being a bitch, really. It's actually, why can't you let me enjoy myself? I put food on the table. Why can't you? When it's not even about that. She just fucking wanted me there. She didn't care about the house. And she still don't. She don't care about the money. She don't care about the cars. She just wants me there. We could be living in a fucking council flat, me and her and the kids, and she'd be happy. And she honestly would. She probably would be more happy, actually, because I'm like fucking showing off all the time and everything. It's got to be better and better and better. Do you know what I mean? And it's not what she wanted. So yeah, I decided and admitted that I had a problem, and because of I'm a creative, because what I do is create, I knew that the only way that I could go sober is if I told the world that I was an addict and that I had a problem, and that I was an arsehole and I was being a wanker, and that I started creating content about it, because if it's my work, then it's my life. Some of you probably follow me on social media. Everything that I do, boxing is my content, right? Golf, when I was golfing, it was my content. Comedy, it's my content. Kids, it's my content. It's like unraveled in my life, you know, because I love my work. And I just knew that if I made it my content, I would stick to it. And I thought, right, sorry, I know you got other questions, but I just thought, right, this year, from this moment forward, I'm going to try and help everyone else that was in my position in regards to drinking and doing drugs, but not thinking it was a problem, you know, being able to take 3-4 days off it, you know, 4 or 5 days off it, or not drink during the week, you know, but just get off their fucking nuts every weekend, or every time they drank 1 or 2, they couldn't put it down, but didn't think they had a problem. I wanted to show everyone that, mate, if your fucking life is falling to shit, like mine was, you know, and you don't think it's your fault, but you're still getting smashed all the time and doing drugs, we might need to have a chat. Because I've just worked out what I've been doing, and it hit me like you know, I preferred to be at the pub, mate, and I preferred to be with my mates sniffing gear than I did being at home. And now when I look back on that, it fucking blows my mind, because I can't bear to be away from them now. And the only thing that has changed is I don't drink and I don't do drugs. And I just wanted to share that. So I thought, if I do a podcast, I'm going to commit for the rest of this year. That was my initial thing. Because I'm crazy enough that when I commit to something, I can normally make it happen. And I just said to myself, from that moment, once I get sober, once I go away to the rehab, and when I come back, and when I'm allowed back home and I've sorted my life out and I get back to work, I'm going to commit to doing a podcast every single fucking week for the rest, for a year, like you do in AA. I'm going to do a podcast every week, and I'm going to start by interviewing industry experts, so I can find out what addiction is, I can find out why this has happened to me, what's going on, and I can find out how to stay off it. And I've done that for...
How many days sober are you now?
About 330 days.
Nice.
So...
Amazing.
So, yeah. And your next guest.
Well, that's it for tonight. No. So... What's been the overall response from listeners, and what has this podcast done for you in terms of your sobriety?
The response from do you know what? It's completely changed my mentality into what I want to do with my life, really, because I'm not going to lie to you, and this is why I love sobriety, because it's about complete honesty with me. You know, I can look back on everything that I've done wrong now because of the sobriety, and I can look at my life now at the shit I'm doing wrong, and there comes great pride with admitting stuff like that and changing. And I spent the last 10 years doing what I thought I was doing, was giving to people with my comedy, you know. My Instagram, my Twitter, and everything is free of charge comedy for you guys. I'm doing this for you. But that's bullshit, man. You know, I create comedy because I think I'm funny, and then the response I get on the social media feeds my ego, and then I sell tickets to my tour, and now I'm a millionaire. That's the fucking truth, right? Right? That's the truth. Yeah, I know, it's good, but it's sweet. I've got a McLaren and everything, but no. But it's shallow, right? And it's been going on for so fucking long that I've been playing this game with myself, that I'm doing this for other people. That when I got sober, I was like, come on, man, you've got millions of followers on your fingertips. You're fucking struggling. You have to give back. You have to genuinely do it, and not do it for recognition, right? You've got to do it. So that's where this group was built, Mates, Men and Their Emotions. We got 49,000 lads in that, and we don't try and get any public publicity. Any sort of press that we get, I keep my name out of it, like purposely, for the point that I don't want to do that or this to better for my ego, you know, for the money and for all that shit. So other people do the promotion on it, and we're growing it slowly. But from that, a fucking large, heavy weight is weighed down on me now, where people reach out to me in my inbox, people that are going, you know, the heavy stuff, the suicide stuff. You know, I've spoken to followers of mine that are struggling, and then I've been contacted by their partners, and they've died by suicide. And this happened many times since I've been on this journey, and it's broken me for days. Or people that can't get off the drink and drugs, and you know, a lot of these people are broken, so they reach out negatively to me, like, fuck you, fuck what you're doing, you know, you're fucking faking it, you're probably still, you know, on it, or why can't you help me? And it's fucking dark. That's the toll of it. It's dark, but it's also beautiful for me, because like things like tonight, I'm like, wow, like there's actually people that are interested in this, they're here, they're together, and suddenly people that are struggling, I think, are looking at me a little bit like, oh man, that's like, I'm kind of like that as well, and I'm kind of going through that as well. And if you're still all right around it, you know, on the like while you're talking about your issues, if you're still fucking laughing and joking and trying to do well, then maybe I can too. So yes, it's a mix.
Lovely. Okay. So can you share from the podcast an episode or a moment from a particular like episode or guest that really stands out to you? What's been like the high and what's been the low?
Well, the high for me definitely was the first episode with getting heckled by TFL. Fucking hell.
It's a sobriety train.
Yeah, is it? Sadiq Khan's probably charging them to drive over. Don't even get me started. Yeah, I mean, come on. The most important for me, and the probably the most important piece of content I've ever made in my life was with Kirk Norcross on the very first episode. For those, I don't know if any of you that saw it, but it really, me and Kirk go back a long way, right? And a lot of people say, you know, that I inspire them for you know, talking about being sober, and like I'm 10 months in, right? Kirk inspires me on another level, because I used to sniff gear with him, and he's a fucking animal, right? He was like the true definition of an addict, right? Whereas I was dipping in and out of it, like session and stuff, but he was cocaine dependent daily for years. And me and him were pals, and then we'd fall out. You know, we wouldn't talk to each other, and then we were pals, and then we'd fall out, and then we fell out big time. You know, he just cut me off. It was the addiction, you know, when you go in different ways, he just cut me off, and we didn't talk. And we were close before that. And when he cut me off, it cut me deep, because our families knew each other. We used to get together and that. And I knew he was in a bad place, but I couldn't reach him. And then his father left us the way he did, and Kirk found him, and I thought he was a goner. I couldn't get hold of him, and you know, I wasn't speaking to him. I didn't feel like I could talk to him. And then I was just waiting to hear, you know, that he was gone, to be honest with you. And then when I saw online that he was doing all right, I contacted him, and he told me he was like fucking years sober. And I couldn't believe it. And it was right at the beginning for me. Like, I'd just made the choice to go sober. And I couldn't, honestly, I swear to God, I thought he was fucking lying. I thought, there is no fucking way. Let me see you. Let me look into your fucking pupils. Because there's no way, you know. Like, there's no way he was getting sober. No way. And then I sat down and talked to him. And then when he told me, I never knew that he found his father. I don't want to say too much. That's his place too. But I never knew. And then when he broke down in front of me and said, and it just amplified it for me, fucking hell. And after that, you're sober. Not even just the Kirk I knew before that. And I just thought to myself, I just want to be around you, man. I want to share this platform with you. So that was my highest point. That was a real turning point in my life where I realised that I could do whatever I wanted to do with this sobriety. I just had to want to do it, and it became like a power. And the low was on the Friday's episode, actually. This Friday's episode with, what was her name? With Eddie, yeah. Yeah, sorry. There's some leaflets of her Adapt there. They help people with addiction. But that was my lowest point, I think. It was one of my toughest interviews I'd done, and probably one of the toughest moments in my sobriety, when she spoke about her partner relapsing when her son was born. And it just took me back to when I got off me nut, when both of my children were born, you know, and left her at home. It's a very personal thing. I had to check with her that I could even talk about it, or that I could even let that video out, you know. We had a conversation about it. And then when I let it out and she saw the video that I put with it, she rang me. She was away in Corfu, and we spoke about it. And you know, she let a lot off her chest about that. You know, you know, it's one thing going sober and her being proud and saying I'm proud of you, but really inside your partner, there's a lot of deep-seated fucking, you know. But look at what you fucking did. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you fucked up back then. You know, even though you were just out waiting the baby's head, I needed you. We needed you for those few days after the. And then you didn't, and you come back aggy and pissed off because I've asked you to come home to your new baby, you know. And it was, I'm all right talking about it now, but over that weekend with my family away, this weekend just gone, with them away, my kids away, on my own in that house, regardless of the McLaren, it broke me, man. I had to fucking sit with it, you know, and dissect it and look at myself. But she got to release as well. She spoke, she let it all off her chest. And she said how she really felt about it, which hurt me, but not as much as I'd hurt her. But and then she was also like, "I'm so glad that you can see it." You know, she got closure from it. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Just from my understanding.
Thank you, thanks. It's dark stuff, man. Sorry. It is dark stuff, but also it's beautiful stuff, because it's that stuff that you hold on to. It's that guilt and shame that you hold on to that makes you an addict. It's that guilt and shame that you keep suppressed with alcohol and drugs. That's what I've learned, you know. I never, more than a week of no alcohol and drugs, you know, being sober, you start thinking about stuff too much, or something happens that triggers that shame in a different way, you know, or that guilt in a different way. If it triggers it and it comes up and you feel that uneasiness, bang, drink, I'll get fucked then, fuck you, I'm getting fucked. So now that it all comes up and we're dealing with it, that's the real work that keeps the addiction away, yeah.
Fantastic, yeah. Okay, so moving on to your own sobriety, what are some of the things you've learned about sort of maintaining it, or if somebody is interested in getting started with sobriety, or just, you know, thinking about cutting back, what are some of the main things you've learned from the podcast that you would want to share about starting that?
Oh man, it's all in your head. Everything's in your head. That's the great thing about the experts that I had on the podcast, because it's one thing talking to people that are going sober. It's another thing talking to fucking psychologists and you know, specialists, you know, and learning. But there's loads of things. You know, your environment is a key one. You know, you've got to fuck people off. There's people that I don't speak to anymore, unfortunately, you know, and that don't want to speak to me. There's friends of mine, my oldest friends, some of them that I've been friends since I was 14, they don't want to, you know, the only thing you have in common, if you come from a background like me where you seshed every weekend and it was all about your social environment, it was all about drinking, Some people, the only thing you got in common is drinking drugs. And if you take that out of the mix, you're like, what the fuck are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? And also, it's like holding a mirror up. It's like holding a mirror up to, you know, me going sober is like holding a mirror up to some of my friends. And my friends don't like mirrors held up to them unless they're covered in cocaine. You know what I mean? You fucking do know what I mean. But yeah, so environment, change your environment, put a fork in it. I was like, fuck everything else. I'm sober. Everything's got to change. I ain't socialising no more. I don't give a fuck about it. And when I socialise, I'm going to do it in ways that I enjoy, doing it without alcohol, golf, fucking spending time with my family. It's just my family, man. My family. I'm nearly 40 years old. I couldn't give a fuck about standing in a pub anymore, chatting shit with people. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be out. I want to be in. Just accept your life has changed. Put a fork in the old you and start a brand new you. And then you've got to work on it every single day. That's a massive thing. There's a reason why I get up every morning at 4:30 and I'm boxing at 5:30. It's because I force myself to do shit I don't want to do. I do not want to get up at 4:30 in the morning, ever. But when I open my eyes, my first fucking overcoming the first bitch, sorry if anyone's a bitch, but overcoming the...
Why'd you look at me?
But it's a sesh gremlin, isn't it? So the gremlin in my head that tells me, you know, that's what I beat up my sesh gremlin, right? By doing like the ice cold baths or sparring, right? I go boxing in the morning because I don't want to get up. So when I overcome not getting up, I'm like, right, it builds mental resilience. It's as simple as that. And that's the key. It builds mental resilience. Build the mental resilience to get out of your bed. Then you've got to go down into the gym and spar someone that's better at boxing than you, get your head kicked in for 45 minutes. You come out of that and you're actually like, fucking hell, mate, I got up earlier and got beat up, but I love it. And you're happy, you feel fit, you come out, and then anything else a day throws at you as a piece of piss. And then when that voice comes into my head, maybe you should go to the pub and have a drink, or do you know what, maybe you weren't that much of an addict. You know, maybe it's all right to have a little line, or maybe this is getting boring. It's just mental resilience. You can just go, well, it becomes easier and easier.
Wicked.
Yeah.
You mentioned it before, but can you just tell us a little bit more about the mates group you set up and what people can, what they can use it for and how it can help them?
The mates group I set up because I just can't deal with people on a one-to-one basis about serious stuff. You know, a lot of men, especially, the mates group is for men. It's called Men and Their Emotions. And I'm like a brand guy. I like creating, you know, like Menace to Sobriety. You know, it's like Menace to Society, the film, you know what I mean? So I like this, like, mates, Men and Their Emotions. It's mates. People go, oh my God, that's so good. Ego-driven shit, right? But it means something to me, Men and Their Emotions. And it's because men reach out to me all the time. Not in that way, but in my DMs and, you know, about serious shit. You know, about serious stuff, you know, about wanting to kill themselves or about being in debt or stuff to do with their children or money or gambling, addiction, serious stuff that I can't fucking, you know, I'd hate to give the wrong advice. So I was always passing these crisis numbers, and then I just thought to myself, these people, they don't really, some of them don't even want advice. Some of them just tell me shit, you know. They don't even, you know, I don't expect you to say anything to me, Dapper, but can I just tell you this? You know, they just want to offload. They just want us to talk, but they don't want to talk to people they know. They don't want to talk to their mum or their mates. So the group was quite simply a place where men can anonymously post their problems, and then everyone else in the group can answer, respond, and give their advice. Or if you're in the group, and this is the big one for me, you can sit there, you don't have to give advice, or you don't have to post anything, but you can just watch and see that the rest of the world is just as fucked up as you are. And that's a beautiful thing. You know, it's like watching Jeremy Kyle. Makes you feel better about yourself. Do you know what I mean? But it's true, you know, if you're struggling...
You know you're not alone. You know there are other people going through the same stuff.
Exactly that. And I'm proud of that. And that's 40-something thousand people. That's I'm proud of that. That really is something. That's the podcast is amazing, but we have proof on a regular basis that saves lives, and I'm proud of that.
That's great work. Pretty cool. That's really good.
Thank you.
Okay, so back to Menace to Sobriety. Are there any plans going forward that you want to do? Do you want to do regular live gigs, or are there certain guests you want to get on? What's like your aspirations for the podcast, or just more of the same?
Just monetize it. No, I'm joking. No, I don't. As you can see, I'm quite like open. I'm quite like just throw it around. You know, I'm like, oh, you know, like Kirk can take it and do what he wants with it. You know what I mean? Like, or you know, any guests can come on. You know, I want more real people. That's the route I want to take it. More people that aren't famous, that aren't specialists. More people that have just overcome fucking hard shit, do you know what I mean? And that have got a normal story to tell that people can relate to, and you know, there's loads of stuff that I've been asked to do. You know, go into prisons with it and talk there, but I ain't never going back. No, but
too pretty for prison, man.
Yeah, trust me. But to answer it, I don't know. I want it to find its own way. Great. So yeah.
Okay, nice. And just before we bring Kirk on. Okay, what are the most important main takeaways you want your audience to get from listening to Menace to Sobriety? What's the main thing? They just took away, I don't know, one thing.
Oh, that your problems are your everything that went wrong in my life has given me the opportunity to do great things. Do you know what I mean? Like, out of all the TV and film and stand-up and fucking videos I've made, nothing has given me anything real to do more than my fucking problems and issues have given me now. So your issues and your problems and what you're going through in your life now is the most powerful stuff for you to learn from in order to help other people in the future. So your shit one day is going to be a beautiful story. And I think that's a really important message, because you can look at it from that perspective right now with whatever you're going through and go, one day I'm going to use this. Once I get through it, I'm going to use this to, you know, to get to help other people. And I think just that everyone's going through it, regardless of what it is. And also, it's just work. It's as simple as that. You know, I thought I was suffering with anxiety and depression for years. It weren't. It was just a come down. It was constant. Right, and now I realise that also I'm depressed some days. Some days I'm down. That's because I haven't exercised, right? Or I've eaten shit. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm not managing my thoughts. That's the most powerful fucking thing I've learned from that podcast is you can stop your thought process. You can change your thought process, right? I always thought, I used to just go like, oh, fucking hell, me bird's cheating on me, me bird's cheating on me, she cheating on me, she cheating on me, she cheating on me, she cheating on me. 6 hours later, she's fucking cheating on me. Now I can go, my bird's cheating. Shut up, you twat. You got a McLaren? No. No, but I can go, oh, right, oh, here comes some negativity. It's not stand-up. It's not stand-up. It's not stand-up. But I can break that. Negative thought loops. You can break your negative thought loops. You can break your negative thought loops. And also, with a lot of work, you can make the negative thought loops fewer and further between. And you can see it. And that all comes from realising I've got a sesh gremlin. That all comes from realising that voice in my head that's telling me to do things I shouldn't do ain't me. It's something else that I can go, nah, not today.
Awesome. Thank you. Give it up for Dan, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. So we're now going to bring...
Do you want to jump there and I'll jump on?
Oh, yeah, nice. We're now going to bring on the co-host of Menace to Sobriety, Mr. Kirk Norcross. Is he there? There he is. Woo!
How are we doing?
Yeah,
Right, I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. My family's here as well, and my friends.
How you doing, man? Good?
I'm good.
I was also nervous. I was speaking super quick. I do that when I. All right. Okay. Yep, still nervous. Okay, so we've got some questions for Kirk.
Straight away.
I'm doing my interview cross-legged.
As everyone said, that John's a hand model, by the way, and this is no lie. Can
God.
we see these hands? He's actually a hand model.
All right, but my eyes are up here, so... You know. See me afterwards for a portfolio. So, okay, so right. Okay, Kirk, so please share with everyone a bit about yourself and your background and how you came to do Menace to Sobriety.
So drugs has always been a part of my life. You know what? I like to try and blame trauma for my drug using, and I think that's an excuse that I still need to try and deal with, because it isn't trauma that made me do drugs, because I didn't have much trauma in my clubbing days. But I truly believe an addict's an addict from the born. So my life is pretty much like everyone's, really. You know, I grew up in a council estate. You know, I had mixed family issues, you know what I mean, that affected me at the time. But as I got older, I realised that's literally part and parcel. Like 85% of the country used to go through what I went through. Drugs, cocaine wasn't really a big thing where I grew up in a bad area. So it was, I think it was block. Hash, solids, you know. A few people were nodding, the old school lot.
Soap bar.
Blisters on your fingers from doing that back in the day. I wasn't never really a smoker of drugs, but I would to fit in, because all my friends used to do drugs, smoke weed and smoke solid. I never really know what I wanted to do growing up. You know, I was terrible in school. I suffered with anger issues like everyone did, you know, anxiety. And school just wasn't for me, but I see it out. Went to school, college, wanted to be a photographer. I wanted to be a sports photographer. And I knew I didn't have the grades to get in, so I lied that I had the grades to get in until like 3 months after in college. They're like, we finally got your grades and you've got to leave. Oh, fuck off, you all hate me. I needed a C in science to take a picture. So that helps, you know what I mean? But I stuck with college, done welding. It was a family business, welding. My father used to have a welding business. I'd done that. Wanted to do, oh, fucking hell, what's going off here? I just wanted to do it to try and please my dad. I just didn't get on with anything I wanted to do in life. Anything I tried, I just couldn't do it. It wasn't for me. But at the same point, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know who I was. And then, I left college, and my father told me to just get a job. I never really got on with my dad till I was about 18. I used to see my dad regularly, but never really had that bond. I feel that it might have been my fault. No, we're all right. Let's swap it. So, I think it was me. You know, I always wanted to impress my father, and I thought it had to be. He was old school, so I thought it'd have to be from work, from earning a wage in somehow. You know, so I think at the age of 18, I went and got myself a job in a clothes shop in Lakeside. And you know what? It's the first time I see my dad half proud of me, you know, started talking. And I think it wasn't for me. When I started working, my dad was building a house. I went and worked with the builders. And then me and my dad just started getting on as friends. He split up with my stepmum, and that was sort of the thing that got in the way of me and my father. And he just took me clubbing. From not really getting on with my dad, just took me clubbing. And fucking terrible idea, Dad. Honestly, it was fucking... it went downhill from then. So from the age of 18, I think I'd done drugs prior to that before, maybe like in a pub or something, you know. And listen, I've said, I've had trauma, I do drugs. From the first time I'd done drugs in a nightclub, I would not fucking stop. But I'd be able to... So I'd go on a mad one. Say if we were out on a Friday night, I'd go out for a couple of days. But most people then were, do you know what I mean? But and then I could stop for the week. I could stop for the weeks, and then just started creeping up on me. I knew I'd done it different to everyone. One, because of the way I acted. Yeah. You know, I like to do drugs on my own, and I think the minute you do drugs on your own, you're fucked. Like, you know, sorry to say it, you're fucked. If you're doing a social drug on your own, it is a straight up problem. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it is, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, I've got this drug, it makes you talk to everyone, makes you dance all night. Go on, I have a gram of that, go in my bedroom. You know what I mean? You know, and that's what it was. And I was like that from early. You know, I was like that from early. I don't know if you've realised I've got ADHD severely. And I feel with Coke...
He only asked you how you got on the podcast. Fucking hell.
I feel with ADHD and Coke, it had the opposite effect with me. Yeah. I could not talk. I buckled up. I went in myself. And drugs literally become a part of my life quick, you know. I got asked to do a TV show, The Only Way is Essex. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, but I knew at that point in my life, I think I was 19, 20, I liked money and I liked girls, and I thought, fucking TV, I get it all. I didn't get fucking none of it. But no, and I mean, then it just become a chill drug for me. Yeah. Do a bit of work, earn a fucking shitload of money, I'll sit in my bedroom and get on it. And it was just a spirally slope, you know. I could have been, you know, and I've got to hold my hands up and take myself responsible. I could have been as big as anyone else that I was on the show with. They'd cut filming and they'd go chase their dream. They'd go try and get on another TV show. They'd go to nice places. See me, I'd do a TV show and I would go back to the dirtiest crack house I can find and just sit there. Because truthfully, that's where I felt I fitted in. I fitted in with, I was never good at anything. I was good at doing drugs. Really good at it. So I thought, fucking nailed it here. Do you know what I mean? I've really done good. So, yeah, I mean, I fucked up everything from drugs. I just fucked up everything, and we'll probably go in deeper. But started speaking to Dan after all of our mishaps and everything, and he asked me.
How did you guys first meet?
Cool. So I was a fan of. I've never been famous, but I was in the public eye quite big, and I was a fan of Dapper's Vines, the 6-second Vines. They were great, and I think I messaged him, loved the video. And he's messaged back, oh my God, Kirk's messaged me. I'm like, mate, fucking Dapper's replied me. I think that night, was it that?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it because I didn't have a blue tick at the time. So
yeah, I was fucking shitting him at the time. Do you know what I mean?
But I told all my mates, you know, Kirk from Towie, he's messaged me, and they all said, see if you can get down Sugar Up.
So yeah, cut to me meeting Dapper at a train station. It went downhill really quickly. So my father owned a nightclub. We could have had the best night. We could have stayed in there all night, had a few drinks, got drivers to take us home. Oh, we stayed in there after night, got fucked and went to an hotel.
Yeah, we did, yeah. We was in there for about an hour and then said, let's go back to the hotel and just watch the gear.
Oh, that took a different turn. Okay, cool.
Oh, it went. No, not just us though. There was a couple of girls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to leave that bit out, you fucking twat.
No, but listen, it was what it was. You know, it was.
This was before Shelley, all right?
This was my life. It was finding people. I always knew I had a drug problem, so it was finding people that I knew had the same sesh mentality as me. So then I didn't feel like I was doing anything bad. And then I started watching people grow up, and I was staying at the same place. And you know what? It just become a fucking spiral, man. And it was a horrible thing that it took me out, you know. And I am lucky to be here. I really am. Some things kept me here because the amount of drugs that I used to do, I shouldn't be here. I know people that have gone for less, and it gives me some kind of spiritual reason to think maybe there's a meaning that I'm here. Do you know what I mean? Maybe there's a reason, and I see it from the comments and the posts and the messages that I get. You know, the potential of saving people's life, and that's what I set out to do, really. You know, if I can save one person's life a day, if I can make one person smile, if I can make one person stop killing themselves or something like that, you know, I've made the world a better place.
Lovely.
He's got another question in a minute. Hold up.
So you briefly touched upon this, but you mentioned that the addict was always in you, or do you think it's something that develops over time for people, or there are some people who just have that capacity to get hooked? Is it a bit of both? What's your...
Yeah, look, I think everyone's different, but I am a strong believer. Like, see me, I am an addict. It wasn't something that grew on me. It was something that people see grew on me. Yeah. Because it becomes so common and so a part of my life. I couldn't hide it. I was like it from day dot. You know, but I'm like it with anything, you know. I wish I was like it with work and school, you know, just fucking trying to crack on. But anything I do it like an addict. And yeah, look, I'm not saying everyone is born an addict. Yeah, I believe there are people that would do drugs and drink for coping mechanisms, and then that becomes some kind of medicine to them. So they become addicted to what that drug is doing. It's getting rid of that feeling. But then I think on my side, there is people that are addicts. I was just an addict from the first fag that I had, from the first cigarette that I had. Drink was never a thing for me, really. I'm a horrible drunk. So when I drink, I like to think I can fight, but I can't. So I really come unstuck a lot of times. So I didn't drink, you know, and I wasn't worried about telling everyone I don't drink because I got a bit of a problem when I drink. But, you know, people you see you got a drug problem. No, I haven't, you know what I mean? And I was born an addict. and I will always be an addict, and I need to remind myself that daily. Step one, if anyone has ever done or heard about CA, step one is to know that you are powerless, and I need to remind myself of that daily. So I believe with addiction you have a mental allergy. Well, they call it an allergy of the mind, an allergy of the body. So it starts off with an allergy of the mind. I just need one. Like, something good's happening, I'm going to have a bit of gear. Something bad's happening, I'm going to have a bit of gear. Oh, I'm in all day, I'll have a bit of gear. You know? And in my head, I just would say, Kurt, you're just going to go get a couple of beers. And the reason I would drink when I've done drugs, because if people say, well, are you getting on it? Well, I'm drinking. It's allowed, isn't it? You know, I didn't like the drink, you know what I mean? But, so, and then you've got an allergy of the body. So I truly believed I'm just going to pick up a gram. Like, and I'd say to myself, Kurt, listen, buy one and go. Just leave everyone alone. And I'd honestly mean that until the second I'd done that one bump or line, there was nothing that would stop me getting drugs. Nothing. Like, I was just a horrible, self-centered person. Everything had to revolve around getting drugs. Where am I going? Are there drugs there? Can I get drugs before? How much money am I getting to go to this event? Will that be enough drugs for the next sesh? Everything was like that, and it just become normal. It become normal. That was my life. Before any fucking bills or my child's presents or anything like that, it'd be like, right, that's for the coke. Is there enough left for my family? What a fucking man I was. And I've just got to remember, step one, I am powerless. I am powerless over this substance. And it does something to me that turns me into a real horrible person. And the bad thing about addiction, it doesn't affect me. It affects everyone else around me. Do you know what I mean? And I need to remind that, because you don't know you've got a problem until you try and come off it. So I'm a bit of a crier, by the way. But you cause carnage. You know what I mean? You cause carnage, and I upset many people. But we're human. We make mistakes. And what we realise, it doesn't matter how much of a bad time you're having. Someone is having a worse time. I swear to God now. We're all sitting here. We're struggling. That's why we're here. There's people out here right this second taking their own life because they can't deal with it. You know, so whatever you're going through, we can pull through it. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need a drink or a drug to resolve a problem at all, you know, because you might have an issue, you'll do a drug. That issue will still be there, but it probably will get bigger. So you know what? You've got to take the bull by the horns, they say, and anything that happens in life, good things or bad things, they're lessons, you know what I mean? So just learn from it, and we're going to have many downs in our life, aren't we? But I think some of the odd ups that we have do make up for it.
Great. So you talked about your sobriety. Well, first of all, how long have you been sober for now?
Yeah, like 2.5 years sober now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have... 2.5. So on the 3rd of May this year, I was 2 years. So yeah, 2.5 years. I would have been longer. Brace yourself, lads. Elvis one that'll come up soon. That was a bit of a mad one.
We'll get to the Elvis story.
So yeah, I was sober for a bit, and then my father killed himself. And listen. My pain's no different to anyone else, but it was, I was sober then. And you got to be realised when you're sober, right, your addiction's waiting outside for anything in life to happen. Do you know what I mean? No matter how powerful you think you are, your addiction's out there waiting for something to happen to say, let's take the edge off it. And listen, my father killed himself, and you know, that's why I got to think, look, people going through bad feelings. Someone's going through it worse. My dad took his own life, do you know what I mean? And again, but it was a me feeling, you know, which I'm learning to get around now. And yeah, you know what, my father took his own life, and I found him, and you know what, as devastating as it was for me to find him, it was a fucking privilege to be able to, it was a privilege to help my dad down in his final times, you know what I mean? He done a lot for me, and I owe that to him. So, but the second I found him, you know, got him to the floor, whatever, you know, and I literally wanted to go that second. You know what I mean? I would have literally took myself out where my dad took himself out. That's the only thing that I thought of. I've got to go now. Do you know what I mean? You know, and my old addiction kicked in. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, no, there's trauma. There's something that's happened. Let's fucking go get on it. And I literally, at that point in my life, I've got to be honest, the drugs did save my life. It really did. Because the minute the paramedics got there for my father, you know, I just rang up a friend and said, I told him what happened. I said, bring me drugs now. And that was on the 21st of January, about 3:15. Sounds like an ultrasound, that, doesn't it? You know, like, it's a boy. That's the ADHD.
Fucking mental, isn't you?
Listen, it was.
I love him.
It was hard, and yeah, I got on the gear. So I was sober, and I relapsed fucking hard. You know, I had a little bit of money where I'd gone sober for a while. I'd had some money saved up, you know, and even though my addiction was bad when I used to use, where I lived next to my father, I could have to rein it in, or I can't go out for a few hours because Dad will see me. You know what I mean? When Dad's gone and I'm still living in the same place. I mean, from the 21st of January, 2021 till the 3rd of May, I was in self-destruct. You know, I had to go. And that was the thing that was just keeping me there for a moment. Do you know what I mean? The drugs become my purpose to not kill myself, you know, and I'm not telling anyone to do this because I'm lucky I'm still here after that relapse, you know, but I was in self-destruct mode. And I remember the thing that sort of made me sober, obviously when anyone passes, you know, you have a lot of family issues to sort out and stuff like that. And I could see some family issues that wasn't being sorted how they should be, which my dad would have normally done, you know, and he wasn't there. So I just said to myself, Kurt, you're either got to step in and help your dad's whatever he's left, sort this problem out because it's going to go fucking tits up, you know, sort it out, you know, or you're no good to anyone, Kirk. And I thought, right, I'll finish this session and then I'm done. And I remember it's my mum's birthday on the 4th of May. So I started getting on it before then, like whenever, 1st or the 2nd of May. I thought, right, I'll get on it. And then I'll go on the 3rd of May, I'll go lakeside, get me mum a birthday present, and then see her on the 4th and say, Mum, I'm going to go sober again. I think I started on the 1st or the 2nd. I was getting on it indoors like a fucking nutter. I invited a friend round. And you know, when you're having a session, it just feels like a night or a few hours, doesn't it? You don't realise that if you're indoors, they just go like that. And then this girl said, I'm going to go. What are you doing today? I said, well, it's my mum's birthday on the 4th, so I'm going to have a sleep, and then I'll go lakeside, get her a present, and then I'll go see her on the 4th. She went, it's the 4th today. I said, no, it hasn't. I thought it was like, it's the 2nd, isn't it? No, she said it was the 2nd when I come round. It's the 4th. I was like, fucking hell, ruined my mum's birthday. She's been there so much for me since my dad died, and I felt like a big fuck up, you know, and I jumped back into the rooms, CA, Cocaine Anonymous, fucking saved my life. If anyone that's struggling, listen, even if you ain't struggling, you know, even if you are sober, just go there to hear out because, you know, it just puts your pain, you just realise you're not alone, everyone's there, and CA saved my life, and yeah, it was a lifesaver for me.
Amazing. Right. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Give it up for Kirk, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I just want to say, Kirk, I love you so much, man. I really do. Let me give you a little hug, mate. And just before I let you bring Elliot on, but the reason why for me it works so well sitting opposite Kirk is he inspires me to open up, but also I believe that this is two sides of the coin, you know, being like a binge session. You know, I feel like my experience is completely different to him, but ultimately led to the same, you know, to the same feelings of wanting to escape our lives. So I feel like Kirk can speak to one audience that are going through a certain thing, and I can maybe speak to another. But ultimately, Menace to Sobriety, I fear, is as much Kirk's as it is mine. So thank you, Kirk.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, yeah. Dan, for inviting me on. You know, I feel like I've got a purpose, and for everyone that's here and watches, it fucking, you know, this is what we're doing it for. So, you know, and as I said, if we can make one person smile a day, one person not do drugs, and one person stop killing themselves, it's not hard to do, but it will change, I promise.
Amazing. All right, let's get our very special guest on today. He's a hypnotism expert, and he is an addiction specialist. Please give it up for Elliot. go. How you doing, Elliot?
Oh, Jonathan, I've got to tell you, I'm sitting back there in the green room, and I've got to tell you, it's like being in a lap dancing club, right? It's dark, there's a bar, and 2 security guards come in while you guys are all sitting out here, and they're like, you're not allowed to be sitting back here. I'm like, I don't know where you want me to go. They're like, you're not allowed to be sitting back here. I was like, well, I'm on next. We have to move the sofas. When you go back there, you'll see. They moved all the sofas to make sure I don't get to the bar. I'm like, but this is all about sobriety. Well, no, we've got to put the sofas there to make sure you don't get to the bar. Yeah, but this is all about sobriety. That means we don't drink.
Well, they had the kleptomania podcast here last week, so there's a bit of a. All right. So, Elliot, how did you first get working with Dan? How did you first? Because you've been on Menace to Sobriety a couple of times. What was your journey leading up to that? And also, tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Wow. Okay, where do I start? So I've been in the world of psychology and hypnosis for 28 years now. I'm an addict, ex-addict, cocaine. Alcohol was never really my thing. I was that dry sniffer, you know, that one that people go, do they really dry sniff? Yeah, I did. For years and years. And I was on TV at the time doing phobias on ITV. And used to go home in the afternoon and watching my children when they came home from school, the phobia I'd been on ITV and what I'd done. It was like this family thing. And one day I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I look fucking wrecked. I look wired. And I took a long, hard look at myself and went, this is going to come out. You know, I'm on ITV every day. I was doing BBC documentaries. I was doing TV in different countries. And I went, you know, I've got to do something about this. So I began to research into addiction. Obviously, I had a background in psychology and hypnosis and psychodynamic therapy and linguistics and multiple psychological therapies that I'd studied. And I began to read every single book on addiction. I read every research paper, and I started to take components of different things, and I used it on myself, and I stopped. And then I had friends around me who were involved in using cocaine, and they stopped. And it just kind of escalated from there. And then one day a friend of mine said, you know, you should put a video on TikTok. And I was like, TikTok? And they're like, yeah, TikTok. I'm like, that's for 10-year-olds. So anyway, long story is I put a video on TikTok, and it did really, really well. And I started putting more and more videos on TikTok every single day about dealing with the packet addiction every single day. And it just began to grow and grow. And then, I don't know, after about 4 months of being on this, 5 months of being on this, Dan reached out to me, and he'd watched one of my TikToks. And he said, you know, would you love to come on my podcast? And I was like, fucking yay. So went on one of Dan, I think it was one of Dan's first guests along the road. Went on his podcast and
Episode 2, I think.
50 days. And you know, it was great. I really enjoyed it. Got to give a big thanks to Dan because he gave me a big platform for lots of other viewers I have. You know, I get a huge audience now on my social media because of that. Love the banter with Dan, and he's a very straight and honest guy, and you know, I love him to bits for that. And that's kind of how it went. And then I kind of think I invited myself to the next podcast because I think at the time, wasn't it, Dan? I was like,
Yeah. No, he's a proper fucking Del boy. He was like, he was in there and he was like, that was great. Thank you for having me on your podcast. That was great. When are you 100 days? When are you 100 days? Let's work it out. And I was like, he goes, I'll be back then. I was like, fucking hell. Let's just see how this one goes first. Yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to be here then. But
so I went back on the 100 days, and kind of we're here today. You know, I think I invited myself to this, but no, I don't know. And you know, I met Kurt through Dan, and that's why I'm here.
Woo! All right, nice. Thank you. Okay, so as a professional, how would you define addiction? Because it means different things to different people. But
yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one, Jonathan, because you know, I see people making comments on my social media all the time. You know, last time I put, you know, I'm going to tell you what I think is the definition of addiction in a minute, but last time I put this out there and said what my opinion of a definition of addiction was, somebody put, well, that's the same as brushing your teeth with toothpaste. You must be addicted to toothpaste. You know, and I'm like, just what the fuck? You know, so I'm going to give you the definition of addiction. You know, the definition of addiction is using a substance or a behavior with a compulsion or a craving that has a temporary relief, right? It gives you a relief from that feeling or the situation or the anger or the environment you're in at that moment in time, but has a negative consequence. And that can apply to so many different things because there are so many different addictions, right? And really, that's how I would sum up an addiction.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, so what are a couple of tips you would have for someone that wants to stop drinking or stop using cocaine?
Whoa, okay. Well, number one, the biggest one of all is the tribe mentality, I call it. You know, this is what happens. You start using, and we all go through a very similar pattern, right? And that pattern is it's a social thing. You know, it begins on a Friday night and you're out with your mates and it's a fucking cool thing, right? And it seems okay because it's like once every couple of weeks and then it becomes once a week. And that social thing, eventually, and it's really hard to actually see when it changes, suddenly becomes antisocial. And then you're doing it at home on your own. And then you develop all the other triggers like, well, I've had a bad day, I'm going to use. Or I've had a good day, I've had an argument, I've just got a bonus, I've just got a bill. And all of these triggers that lead you to use and all these hooks that are now become unconscious. You know, you're not even thinking about it. It's like you drive the car and the lights turn from red to amber to green and you drive, you don't have to think about driving. And that's what happens. Any of those triggers happen. What was the question? Tips, thank you. So the tribe, right? So now you're using and you're going out on a Friday night and you're going to the pub and you start associating with other people who use and that becomes your tribe. And then you hang around with people who use and that's your tribe. In fact, when you think about those people who you use with, it's actually very rare that you actually socialize with them and not use, right? So this is your tribe. And then what happens is the tribe goes to the tribe camp. In other words, the tribe feel comfortable using in a specific place. That could be the local pub or the bar or the place you congregate to or end up in the friend's house, right? So the first thing you've got to do, without question, is to break your tribe, break your circle, you know, without a doubt. That's the number one thing I would recommend. You know, and I say this all the time. If you sit in a barber's long enough, you're going to get your fucking hair cut. You know, that's the bottom line, right? Unless you've got no hair. Sorry, I leave the jokes for Dapper. Right. So that's the first one. Second one I would recommend is that, listen, you know, first of all, you've got to take different groups of people. So if you're one person who uses the packet, right, and alcohol is your gateway, then without question, you've got to stop drinking, right? If you don't use the packet and alcohol is your issue, then you can't be in that environment. You know, why would you want to be in that environment with those people drinking? So that's the first thing. If you use the packet and alcohol is your gateway, you've got to stop. You've got to stop alcohol, right? And people say to me, "Oh, what? Can I never drink again?" And I'm like, well, you know, if you're the sort of person that 3 or 4 pints in, you're going off to make a call or, you know, make that text, then the answer is no, you can't. You know, it's as simple as that. You've got to make a decision and you've got to understand, how important is this to me? You know, what does this mean to me? How much do I want to change my life? And what am I prepared to do that? You know, that's the second thing you've got to do. And the third thing that I recommend to people is, and I'm a great advocate of this, and I know both Kirk and Dan are very into this as well, and that's exercise. I can't say that enough. You know, it's funny because I did a talk at a big seminar with a whole group of doctors before, and I said this, you know, I'm a great believer in addictive personalities. In psychology, we don't call them addictive personalities, we call it impulsivity, and how impulsive somebody is, right? But let's just keep it as addictive personalities. I believe people have addictive personalities. I know, for one, I'm a very addictive person. When I used to do the packet, I was all in. I mean, I know on one of the podcasts with Dan that I racked up some flour to show him, and he was like, no, that's a slug, right?
Yeah, he showed me how much he sniffed, and I thought, fucking, I'd never choose a gram with him.
So that's why I got a big nose. And so where was I? So it's all about, you know, changing that environment, changing those people, and ultimately exercise. Exercise is a great thing. So if you have an addictive personality, right, you know, as I have, when I use the gear, I was addicted. When I go to the gym, I'm addicted. When I work, I'm addicted. It makes more sense to me to find something that is beneficial to you. So I'm at this seminar with these doctors, and I say, look, I like to get my clients to become addicted to exercise. And they're like, but addicted to exercise? I'm like, addicted to exercise, addicted to using alcohol or the packet. I know which I'm going to fucking take, right? Because if you're addicted to exercise, you get the dopamine release, you get the serotonin release, you feel good about yourself. So it's a great strategy to have structure in your life. So I fully recommend those are the 3 points I'd say.
Nice, amazing. Thank you. In some of your videos, you talk quite a lot about the pleasure and pain seesaw. What do you mean by that? What's kind of the,
So human nature is caused very simple, right? We try and avoid pain or anything we perceive as being painful, and we try and seek pleasure, right? So if you put your hand in a red oven and you burn yourself, that's pain, and nobody wants to put their hand back, right? But in most things in life, there's an element of pain, right, before we get pleasure. You go to work, we'll call that pain. To get paid to buy nice things, we'll call that pleasure. You learn to drive a car, we'll call that pain. To have the freedom to get from A to Z, we'll call that pleasure. That's how life works, right? But when you use the pain and... Can you hold that? Yeah, the pain and pleasure are the wrong way around, right? So you get a perception of pleasure first, and the pain comes later. They're the wrong way around. And what happens is you think it's always going to be different. You're going to enjoy it. And it's only at the 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning that you're beating yourself up. So what you've got to do is swap pain and pleasure back around to the way they should be so you don't want to use anymore. And that's the pain and pleasure syndrome. But it goes one further, right? Because pain and pleasure are co-located in the brain. That means they're in exactly the same place inside of your brain, right? And they're like a seesaw. So what happens is when you use, you get pleasure, right? And the pain is tipped down, right? And then, of course, your brain is trying to create homeostasis. It's trying to create an even balance. But it can't do that because once you've been in pleasure, it's going to create pain. And nobody likes being in pain, so what do? They go and drink more or they go and use more, so they tip it back to pleasure. And that's the pain and pleasure syndrome because your brain's always trying to create balance, but it can't. You know, nobody likes to come down. I mean, I get clients who binge, and one of the reasons they go on binge is they don't like the come down. You know, that's the worst thing for them. They actually use until they literally pass out. So that's pain and pleasure and how the syndrome works and how you've got to change it around. Because the other thing about when you use is, listen, we've all been there at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You're beating yourself up and going, what the fuck did I do that for? And you're tossing and turning and you're lying next to someone, you're pretending you're asleep and everything's okay, but it's really not okay, right? Yeah, and you're just ceiling watching, closing your eyes, pretending to breathe like you're asleep in case they move. You're like, whoa, no, I'm asleep, right? That's how it goes, right? And we've all been through that experience, and you're beating yourself. I'm going, I'm never going to do this again. I'm never doing this again. I'm fucking never doing this again, right? And that memory at that time is quite an emotional, powerful thing, and you believe it, right? The problem is that memory deletes because that pain begins to dissipate, right? And then by the time you get to the next day, if you're a daily user, or 2 days, or 3 days, or a week, depending on how frequent you use, that memory has completely deleted itself. And you know what you do? You're just remembering the perception of pleasure before the pain, and off you go, bang, all over again using. And that's what you've got to change in your mind. You've got to put the pain first, way before the pleasure.
Amazing, thank you. All right, we'll do one more question, and then we're going to go for a 10-minute break.
You know what? When you get to 53 and you're sitting back there long enough, you really need to go for a wee.
That's the pain, mate.
Yes.
That's the pain.
Yes. I'm putting up with the pain.
In a minute, you'll be like, that's the pleasure.
On the peace saw. Okay. All right, so, yeah, you've talked about how cocaine starts as a social drug and then how it can become antisocial.
Yeah.
What do you think, what does that process look like? And
listen, I think this is classic. I think anybody that's used has understood that social to antisocial. As I said at the beginning, it starts off fun and games. You're there with your mates, you're racking it up, you're having a good time, you got the music on, it's 5 o'clock in the fucking morning, and it's been all right because you're young, you can recover faster, and you're sociable, right? But then as that journey continues, and this is so common, right? That social drug begins to become so antisocial. All you want to do is, you no longer want to go to the pub, you no longer want to go around your mate's house. Actually, what you do is you pick up, get your few cans, or your bottle, or whatever you want, and you're sitting up in your bedroom, just using. You become so antisocial. You don't want to talk to anybody. You've got the TV on mute, right? And the brightness in the end gets too bright, you go the TV off, right? And you're fucking up there, racking up the lines, right? And then you're at the curtains, that paranoia. That fucking paranoia. I mean, I don't know how many clients have said to me, they think there's cameras in the lights. They're checking the CCTV. I mean, if you've got Ring, anyone who's got Ring here? Oh, that's just evil, right? Because you're on the Ring and you're checking the Ring and it's like the paranoia is off the chart. So what started off as a social drug has eventually become the most antisocial drug you could possibly choose to use. And it's just you, your drug, your tins, your drink at home on your own. And your life narrows down, narrows down, narrows down. And all the things you used to do, you no longer do. And that's what makes it hard for people to stop.
Yeah. That's super interesting, right? Thank you, Elliot. Cheers.
Pleasure.
10 minutes? Yeah. Tell them that you're going to do the thing.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. So, well, we're going to take like a 10, 15-minute break now. And then if you have any questions for any of the guys or like anything you want to share, sobriety related, not just random shit, please come. I'll be sitting by the stage. I'll come get your name and I'll come interview you, ask you a question in the second half. So, yeah, enjoy the break. Cheers.
Yep. Come and see John with your questions. He's going to write them down and he'll read them out. Come and see him up here. Round of applause for everyone on stage and John. So, once again, if you do have a question for any of the guests, please give it to John here. He's going to write them down and come to you and you can read.
You guys have a good break? All good? Behave? Nice? Yeah. There you go. Right, I'm going to come round and answer some of your, or get you guys to answer some of your questions. So,
Yeah.
boys ready?
By the way, we're live as well. There's about 400 people watching. So
you're here.
big shout out to all the live stream. Give them a hello, guys. Say hello.
Hello.
So yeah, you guys are famous. Yeah, you'll be addicted in no time. No. So yeah, all right, cool. So we've got a microphone. We're going to come out. John's already picked some questions. So fire away.
Let's start with Terry. Terry, where you at? Oh, there you are. That's convenient. All right.
Cheers, thank you. My name's Terry. I'm also a grateful recovering addict.
Welcome, Terry.
Hi, Terry.
Thank you for everything you've shared tonight. Thank you for creating this space. So my question is about reservations. So you're all at different stages in your recovery. You've all got different beliefs about what addiction is, different approaches to it. So is there, have any of you got any like silent reservations that you're harbouring, some event, something that may happen in your life that if it did, you know, you don't know whether you'll be able to stay sober at all?
Am I right to start on this one?
Go for it.
I'm terrified, mate, that I'm gonna drink and use again, and I think that I've already made excuses in my mind. If someone dies, I'm gonna get on it. If something bad was to happen to my family, if I was to break up with my missus, but truly, I believe I'm sober, and I think the only way to stay sober is to see that you're making excuses. That's what I see it as. You know what I mean? If you're even having that conversation in your mind, like you are probably battling with it, like I am fucking battling with it. This weekend I battled with it. No one would know. Do you know what I mean? And then I'm like, no, I probably ain't never going to drink again unless someone died or unless this happened. But then I can still see that that's the addiction saying that to me. I don't know if I'd survive the missus leaving me or something like that. I don't know. But the truth of it is I can see it as the addiction. So I do make excuses, but I can also see it as the addiction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well done, Dan. Reservations, it's I've sort of overcome that now because if I start to have reservations about what if this happens, will I use, will I drink, bad stuff is going to happen. So we can't think what if, we can't think what if, as I always say, yesterday was gone, we ain't promised tomorrow. There's no point thinking what if or maybe. We're here right now, and just you've got to keep your mind on point. But yeah, life can be one big hurdle, can't it? So yeah, if I start thinking, as Dan said, you start to plan an excuse in the future in case something happens, and I've got to realise life is like a fucking roller coaster. So bad things are going to happen. And as I said, step one, I've just got to remember that I am powerless. So even whatever does or might happen in my life, and I say, you just need one line to get over this, I've got to just stay strong and think, it will never be that, Kirk. I remember the pain now. I never used to remember the pain that Elliot was describing. It was always pleasure to me. It was always pleasure. It was taking me out of this person. Only over the last couple of years I've actually found out who Kirk Norcross is. I never really knew. I'd be hanging around with this group, trying to impress that person, acting like a dick because I thought people wanted to see it. And, and over the last couple of years, I've realised who I am, and I remember the pain, because the pain will, it'll keep me on track.
Yeah, I think what I was going to say was this. I remember very clearly going to my best friend's funeral, and it was at a pub that, like you go to these pub where it's almost acceptable. It's almost like they're racking up on the table. They're not quite, but, they might as well fucking be. And it was amazing that how many people at this funeral were on it. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, fucking hell, like, we use for every excuse, whether it's a celebration at a wedding or whether it's a wake at a funeral, we use. And I'm there at this funeral. I've already told everybody, I don't use anymore. And you have friends in your core who maybe accept you and they stay with you. And then there are people on the periphery. And one of these guys who I've known for a long time, he says to me, El, I've got some wicked stuff, mate. I've racked you one up. And I'm like, no. I've left you one in the toilet. So I went in the toilet and I see this line on top of the toilet and I went, And it was something in that moment in time that made me go, you know what? It doesn't matter what life throws at you. It doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter what somebody does to you. It only matters how you choose to allow those things to affect you. And I think that's how you've got to look at your future.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Good, Terry. Thank you. Good question. Good question.
All right. So, yeah, we got a question from Michael. So convenient. Thank you.
All right, Michael. Very grateful covering Addict.
Welcome.
First thing to you lot, I've got to say it to all you lot who put this on and this podcast. You've not just helped me understand my addiction, but my wife, you've made her understand it. My mother, my brother. You know, I've caused a lot of carnage through being an addict. You know, I lost my wife, kids, home, business. I'm in CA. I've got it all back through doing CA.
Well done, mate.
Thank you. And I'm 52 days clean and sober.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. But the question is really, I'm coming up to that year. You know, my head's giving me problems saying, you know, was you really that bad, like you say? But the question is, do you still get people... I know you changed your situation and your friends. Have you still got them fuckers that's trying to get you back in? Because lately I'm getting them and they're ringing me. We've got this, we've got that. You don't know what you're missing. I'm just trying to find out a way to get through it.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I do. And I fucking hate them people. I think they're fucking wankers. And have you got kids?
Yeah.
Look at your kids, right? And for me, the best way that I can describe how my mentality works, because I mean, this time round, I know I'm an addict. This time round, I saw where I got to, and I know, you know, there's no messing around now. I know that I've got a problem. Once I start drinking, I'll start sniffing, and once I start sniffing, everyone can go fuck themselves, right? So I know, right? So there's no fooling that. But the only way that you can ignore the temptation of those people is if you compare it to something. And this is what I do. I literally put it out in front of me. I say it how it is. It is either sniffing drugs and drinking or being a dad, right? Or my two little baby girls. That's the way that I do it, right? There's no two ways about it. It might not be this year. It might not be next year. But at some point, I will lose them. I will not be there for them. And I fast forward to when they're 16. I got two girls. I was blessed with two girls for my sins. And I fast. What have you got, mate?
Two girls and a bastards.
Yes. Yes. You must have also slept with a lot of women when you were younger.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
We never had Sky. We was bored.
Yeah, but... So this is poignant for you, mate. You can literally do this. Fast forward till your girls are 16, 17, 18 or 20, and then imagine, what are they going to say? Well, are they going to go, my childhood was like this, my dad was like this? Because I'm lucky enough, they don't know me as an addict. I mean, they'll probably watch this one day. But they don't know me as an addict. They don't know how I can be, really. And that's my motivation. That's how I'm going to keep it. When they're 18 years old, they're going to look back and go, oh, my dad overcame something that was horrific, but he was always there for me. And you can still make that choice. But if you listen to the other people, you can't. So just put it out in front of you, mate. On one hand is the drink and drugs, and on the other hand is those two beautiful daughters. That's it.
Thank you.
Well done.
So I'll try and keep the answers a bit shorter because I know we've got a lot of them, so I'll try and trim it down a bit. But go on, I'm passionate, that's all. Go on, Kurt.
You know what? If your friends or the people that you were used to do drugs with, if they know that you've gone sober because you had a problem, it doesn't matter if you're days, weeks, months, or years. You know, if them people are trying to encourage that, you know, they're not your friends. You know, and I moved completely different areas for multiple reasons, but you know, I realised that was their mentality. You know, and they'd love to bring someone down because it takes the light off of them a little bit. You know, if it's just one or two people getting on it, well, you've got a bit of an issue. But if it's a group of people, so, you know, if that's why they're only ringing you, you know, you don't need them. As Dan said, you know, your family become your best friends. You know, I now go to the casino with the lads, golf with the lads, and there ain't a drink there. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't, you know, you've got a year coming up. Well done on your sobriety, mate. And when your year comes up, you know, treat yourself. Treat yourself, you know, treat yourself. And you know what, I love to say and hear how long people are sober, but all we got to say is just today. That's all we are. We're just sober today. Do you know what I mean? Because that's all we're blessed with is today. So, you know, you wake up every morning and say, I'm just sober today. I'm not doing drugs today. So, you know, if anyone wants to ring you for that, just, you know what I mean? I'm quite extreme. I've fucking got more block people in me contacts than contacts, you know? You know?
Yeah,
So,
I was one of them, Kirk. I know.
No, but that's it. If you know people are bad eggs around you and they could potentially be a bad influence, you know, just block them and get on with your life. This is your journey now. This is your journey. Do what makes you feel good. You know, as Dan said, put a smile on them girls' faces and God bless you.
Can I just ask you, was it cocaine, alcohol, or both? Coke. So my answer to people around me who are friends would be, and it's an interesting thing, right? Because when you turn around to people and you say, I'm an alcoholic, I drink a litre of vodka every single day of the week. And your friends are like, fucking hell, do you? I didn't know that. Yeah, I drink a litre of vodka every single day of the week. Now I'm deciding no longer to drink. I'm going to become sober. Would you offer me a drink? And if they're friends around you, they're going to say no. And then you turn around and go, actually, my problem's not alcohol. My problem's cocaine. So something about alcohol and there's something different about cocaine. People don't really get that you don't want to use anymore because you're an addict, right? But there are more people who understand and more acceptance from my experience with alcohol. So I always turn it around and they go, whoa, fucking, I didn't know you drank a litre of vodka a day. I go, well, I don't. But my problem is cocaine. It's exactly the same. I'm the same person as the alcoholic as I am with cocaine. And if you then offer me after I've told you that, they can't be your friend.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, man. Just start a new life, man. Start a new life.
Okay, cool. So we got a question from Alex. Oh, yeah.
No, you got to walk now, John. Look at him. Look at him getting upset because he's got to walk over the other side of the
Furthest
room.
point.
Have a look at his hands.
Should have been
Honestly,
a leg model, shouldn't you, mate?
Don't look at my hands. You've got to speak to my agent. All right, Alex.
I'm kind of regretting this now.
Same.
So, I just wanted to say this is like a year anniversary for me. I'm a year clean.
Well done, brother.
I follow you guys a lot. I love your stuff, and it's kept me going. I know, Dapper, I know you're 10 months now.
Yeah. Take the mic. Hold the mic, mate. Hold it to your mouth. Yeah, go on.
I know, Joe.
Here we are. Get involved.
But yeah, so oh god, I kind of lost for words now.
That's all right. Take your time.
Do you find? I mean, I found with my sobriety, the addiction is what I've learned through, you know, over being a year clean. That I put the alcohol and drugs down, but my addictions moved to other areas. Do you find that that's happened to you guys?
Yeah, I don't mind starting 100%. 100%. I think I agree with what Kirk said. I think that if you're an addict, you're an addict, and I agree with what Elliot said as well. That, you know, I'd rather move to positive addictions. I mean, come on, I was a fat fucker before I went sober, and it weren't just the beers. I never used to exercise, or I used to try and exercise a little bit, but then the sesh would get in the way, you know, and I'd lose my momentum. I am fully every single morning up boxing, right, and that there's no two ways about it. I'm probably in a dopamine deficit from not drinking and using drugs, right? So that I'm fully addicted to social media and my phone. I always have been, and chocolate hobnobs now. So, and that you laugh, but it's fucking true. You know, the missus, she fucking, right this all, you bloody bastard, like in the middle. She looks under like that and she's asleep shut, she hears the bag rustling, and I'll be you know, I'll say, me and Kirk just gone on a diet plan from his dietitian. He's put us on the same diet plan, and he put fucking 4, I said, you got to put them on there, 4 chocolate hobnobs at night.
Got the hobnobs on his diet plan,
yeah. You got a Snickers, haven't you?
No, it's just crunchy now.
Yeah.
Wait.
But,
and I'm allowed 40 grams of Doritos.
Yeah. But fucking hell. You know, it's bad when you look at your crisps in grams, isn't it? Fucking hell. I'll have to, he's like, you go to his house, he's racking up lines of fucking Doritos. Fuck's sake, Kirk. But yeah, I mean, I don't stick to the 4 biscuits. Of course I don't. Do you know what I mean? I have more. And but Yeah, in an answer to your question, yeah, there is that you will have other addictions. There are other addictions, but just be knowledgeable of the negative ones. You know, I'm trying to get off my phone more. There's loads of bad stuff that I'm still doing that I'm trying to do less of. But I think the addiction really, as is what's the word I'm looking for? Self-improvement or personal development.
Yeah.
Growth, yeah.
Positivity.
Yeah, positivity in a whole personal. I mean, some people fucking hate me now that used to follow me, man. Honestly, they announce their departure. I'm fucking not listening to this shit. Do you know what I mean? I'm leaving. You know, like, we came here for the sesh, and you're telling us to get in a fucking cold bath. I'm like. So, you know, yeah, just fucking fuck it, man. If you're an addict, you're an addict. And, you know, we're allowed some small vices, you know. I'll fucking, you know, rather a pack of hobnobs than a pack of gear. So, go for it.
Yeah, you know, with the addiction, obviously, you know, that word, it can be used in many things, addiction, you know, but what I've realised now is I'm always going to be an addict with most people nowadays. Everyone's got something they're addicted to. So I will turn my addiction into passion now. As much as I would do drugs and put so much energy into doing drugs, my addiction becomes a passion for life. And I try to do as many free things as I can. I mean, just the stupidest, silly little things like sitting in my garden watching the sunrise. You know, I become passionate about that, which is, you know, with the addiction and the passion, you know, if it's something good and you're addicted to it, it is a passion and it will save your life. Little things. I just go for walks. I just sit down, watch TV, watch things that's going to make me laugh. Free things, but obviously training is a key one. You know, the rush you get from training is phenomenal, and that could be for a walk. I know a lot of people say they haven't got money for the gym and stuff like this. Go for a fucking run. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got a pair of trainers. Go for a run. I say that to a lot of people when they say, "Oh, I think I might get on it tonight." So listen, go do a 5K run, 10K run.
You said that to me, didn't you, when I was wobbling?
Yeah, go do that run. And if you still want to get on it after, you ain't going to. You know, you've got what you needed out of that, you know. And, yeah, just turn your addiction into passion, into life, into living. The amount of stuff that we used to, hard work. It became hard work getting on the gear, by the way. Fucking hard it was. Do you know what I mean? Everything had to revolve around this. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, why can't I put this into life now, what I've done before? You know, spending time with my friends, my family, learning how to play golf, which ain't going well, is it, at the moment, Dan?
Shit, man, bad.
We're going to go away for golf, right?
It's not just that he can't play golf. He gets extremely... let's just say his clubs go further than the fucking ball.
But, yeah, but... that's it. You know,
yeah, choose life.
Passion over addiction all day long.
I think a lot of people are opportunists when they use. You know, your partner's away, you haven't got to get up for work, nobody's in the house, they've gone away for the weekend. People are opportunists, and I think a lot of people use, when they have the opportunity, use to extremes. And you know, like you say, you know, do you have that addiction? Can you turn that into something else? Like I'm reiterating what we've all said and what I said earlier. Certainly for exercise, you know, and yeah, I still have an addictive trait. You know, I tend to be a little bit in control of my food. I'm you know, all or nothing mentality. But on a Saturday or a Sunday, one day, I have a cheat day. And trust me, it's a cheat day, you know. Like, I'm not just having that one family bar of Cadbury's Whole Nut. I'm into 2 or 3, you know. I'm a packet of biscuits down. But it's
hobnobs.
I'm starting.
You can dip them, right? Strongest dipper. But, you know, if you control it to the point where it's only one day a week, the way I look at it is, what would I rather be doing? Would I rather be picking up, like, you know, 3 tickets, 6 tickets, 9 tickets, a Henry, or would I rather be on a Sunday having 2 bars of chocolates and a packet of biscuits? I know which I'd fucking choose.
Yeah, perspective.
Cheers for the question, mate. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So we've got a couple of questions from people who didn't necessarily want to ask them in person, so I'm going to ask them now. So a chap has just started his sobriety journey, but he's finding he's now getting a lot of anxiety. Is that something you can expect once you stop drinking?
Oh, it's fucking horrific, mate, at the beginning. It's horrific. For me personally, the first 2 months was horrendous. I hated it. And the anxiety, I think, is your emotions that you'd normally suppress from alcohol and drugs. It's a really weird combination of realizing a lot of bad shit that you've done and time you've wasted and problems you've caused, and not being able to escape those feelings and thoughts. And I certainly think that alcohol and drugs wasn't the problem for me to start with. It was the solution to a problem that I was having. So I think it's the same for everyone else. So, you know, if it goes beyond sociable drinking or sociable use, it's like, you know, it becomes like a coping mechanism, like you said. And it's gone. You know, it's gone. Where I'd normally go and get smashed, I can't, you know. And everything's a trigger. And the turning point for me, where the anxiety turned to relief and the relief turned to enjoying my sobriety, because I do enjoy it. I enjoy it now. I have moments, but I enjoy it as a lifestyle, was when I realized that my triggers, when I realized what my triggers were and what triggers are. That was my turning point, when I realized that I'm getting triggered. And that voice in my head, I don't have to listen to, and I can overcome it. And the anxiety, because it feels like a state of living. So, for instance, bank holiday weekend, sun's out, missus is away, my mates are at the pub on Instagram drinking. Oh my God, I want to fucking be there. What have I done to my life? Maybe I didn't have a problem. I can go and have a couple of beers. And then I'm like in this state of anxiety, and then suddenly I think, this is my life. I'm always going to feel like the elephant in the room in my own life. I'm always going to feel this. It's mad what your mind does to you. And then I thought, oh, and that anxiety cripbles you. But when I got to the point where I went, well, if you really wanted to be there, you could go and have an alcoholic-free beer, couldn't you? You could go and have an alcoholic-free beer if you really wanted to be there with your mates. But you don't want to go down there and have an alcoholic-free beer, do you? I'm like, no, I don't. That would be shit. I want to get fucked. I want to get off me nuts, right? And then I go, you dickhead. Yeah? You're trying to play a trick on me. You don't want to go down and be with your friends and be in the sun. You want to sniff a fucking bag again. You want to get off your nut. You're an addict. You twat. You want to escape. And it gave me peace. I was like, oh yeah, you know? And then I just think to myself, instead of trying to escape this life, build a life that I don't want to escape. And then just relax, man. And seeing the triggers pop up, boom, that's a trigger. Getting on the train coming into London, I used to get so excited because I'm coming for a meeting, but mate, I'm getting smashed, right? Now when I come in, the thought comes in, I'm like, there's a trigger. Yeah, man, but I don't deal with those triggers in the same way anymore. They don't give me anxiety. It's just a trigger. And so it's a lot of work, man, but it will pass, I promise you, if you keep working on it.
Yeah, you know what? If you've got feelings of anxiety or any kind of feelings, fucking well done. You're human. You know, you're going to have feelings, and you're going to feel them a lot stronger when you become sober, because you're chemically unbalanced. You know, our bodies are all the same, regardless of how much drugs we can do or can't do. It's a chemical unbalance in your body. So once now these substances are coming out of your body, you are now balancing your chemicals back up. You know, there's a lot of science in it, and you've just got to ride that wave. But, you know, be proud that you've got feelings, good or bad. It means you're human. It means you're real. It means you've got emotion, you know, and having anxiety, you know, use it. Use that feeling. If you're not enjoying that feeling, remember where that feeling's come from. That feeling's come from because you've been ruining your life or ruining your body for as long as you want. And with the triggers that Dan was talking about, I said it on one of the podcasts before, you know, when you go home, you're going to get a pen and paper, you're going to get 2 pieces of paper, you're going to write down all the things that trigger you. Littlest things, anything that would have triggered you to using before. And then you're going to write another list of all the things that you love and enjoy doing that doesn't involve a drink or a drug. And like with the scales that Dan said earlier, you've got 2 options now. You can go out to an event or a venue or with these group of people where you know these triggers are going to occur, or you can go do this something with all these lists that you know give you happiness, give you enjoyment in life. If I give you a list of 2 things and saying, here, what do you want to do today? This one's going to fuck your life up. You're going to have a real good time on this one. You take this one. So just write them down, pen and paper. We read it, we take it in, we live it.
Love that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people misinterpret panic and anxiety together. You know, if you look at something like panic, it's classed as a fight or flight syndrome. And, you know, if we were in the jungle together and there was a lion coming towards us, that fight or flight syndrome, which allows more oxygen to fuel your blood cells to either attack the lion. If I went, come on, Dan, Kirk, can we take this lion? They're like, yeah, we can take the lion.
Of course we can.
Yeah, of course we can. It can, fuel our muscles to fight the lion, right? But if we decide to run away from the lion, we need to fuel our muscles to run away. And that would work really well if we're in the jungle. The problem is we're in modern society, right? And we don't have to do as much as we used to do. We don't need to build fires. We don't need to go out hunting. We have a lot of time in our hands. And there's nothing to run away from, and there's nothing to fight. So we're sitting at home, and that panic and anxiety begins to build up because there's no way of dissipating it. And I'll go back to exercise. It's the greatest way of dissipating any form of anxiety. So if you get anxiety, get the fuck out of your house and go for a walk. Go to the gym, go for a run, play badminton, play basketball, go swimming, whatever you want to do, whatever floats your boat, get your body moving, get yourself moving, because then you change your emotions. Because let's remember, an emotion starts with an E, and it's emotion. It's a movement of feelings. You just got to remember that. You just got to keep replaying that in your mind and do those things and change that strategy.
Lovely.
Well done.
So we've got another anonymous question here. So if you have a friend or a family member who you think has a drinking or drugs problem and they're not seeing it, how do you help them? What's like the first step, and how do you kind of explain to them that you think they have a problem?
Oh man, this is a really tricky one because I could give so much wrong advice on this because I'll have to apologise in advance if I give the wrong advice on this. But I think there's two things you can do. One is you can try to encourage them from a position of being proud of them in advance to change their ways. It would make me really proud, and I think you can, be better than this, and and sort of trying to show them the things that they're ruining. But in all honesty, I don't think that works. If you want me to be brutally honest, the only thing that fucking sorted me out was hitting rock bottom and facing losing everything, mate. Because if you're an addict, you ain't listening to shit, really. You just got to feel it. So I don't know what to say, because I don't want to say leave them, because that could be the worst thing you could do. But you need to show them that what it's destroying, in some way. But I really don't feel qualified to. Can you see I'm struggling with that answer? You can see I'm struggling with it. All I can say is what worked for me was the reality of losing my family. You just got to show them. Sorry, I think it's a tough one for me.
Yeah, that is a hard one, because what I needed at that point in my life was everyone to fucking leave me, But even they did for a bit, and I just went on it on my own for a little bit. But this is why me and Dan are doing this podcast. You haven't got to tell no one anything. You haven't got to tell no one to stop. Try and show them this podcast.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Very good advice.
So you haven't got to tell no one they've got a problem, because fucking hell, trust me, they know it. Do you know what I mean? And the minute they realise, oh shit, everyone knows I've got a problem, they're either going to go at it harder or go. So this is why we do these platforms, because I wish something like this was here when I had enough of drugs. So what we don't want to tell an addict that they're doing too much.
Yeah.
Because they know that, they want to hear that. You don't want to tell them to stop, because they're like, oh, what are you fucking doing to me? All they need to hear is that other people have this problem. So you've got to try and show them this podcast in any way. If you live with this friend or family member, have it on in the TV,
I just want to add to that. That's great, because I felt terrible saying that, because I hate the thought of someone leaving someone off the back of me saying that. I don't mean that, but I'm just telling you what I needed to see. But on the back of what Kirk said, I'm going to try and dig myself out of this fucking hole now. But on the back of what Kirk said, you can use me. You can say, Dan didn't think he had a problem. Dan wasn't using all the time. Dan was only using at the weekends. Dan was only drinking. You can use me and go and see the podcast and see what he's discovered about it. It may change your perspective.
I think it boils down to the carrot and the stick, doesn't it? The carrot, you try and incentivize them and be loving and be caring. And then there's the stick where, you try and threaten them with leaving and doing the worst possible thing for them. But I think as long as they're in denial, you're not going to be able to help them. And, exactly what Kirk said is, show them videos, show them things, encourage them, but they have to really, really want to do it. They have to get to that place. I think the problem is a lot of families and loving members, because, listen, if you've got a partner, if you've got a child, if you've got a cousin, a brother, an uncle, a husband or whatever who's got an addiction, it's a difficult thing because you don't want to see them in that situation. But a lot of relatives and loving family don't understand what it's like to be an addict. They don't understand that itch that you suddenly get that you shouldn't fucking scratch, and you're trying with all your might not to, but the moment you take your conscious focus off of it, you're scratching the itch. They don't understand it. So I think it's a learning curve for them to watch the podcast from a family member's perspective, to understand how an addict feels, and also to introduce that to the addict and try and encourage them. But until they wake up and decide that they want help, it's a really tough one. It really is.
Yeah. Whew. No more questions from that person. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
So we got Emma with a question in the audience.
Oh, right at the back.
John's got to go for a walk.
At the back, John.
Oh, yeah.
Go on, mate. Go on. You guys all still with us, yeah? We won't drag it on for too long, but you're still with us? You're enjoying it still? Okay.
Yeah, guys, honestly, thank you for everyone that's come. It's amazing.
I couldn't sit and listen to myself for this long.
I've got my friends. Everyone surprised me and my friends and family. It's unbelievable that.
Is this all your friends?
Yes, I've got my
That's
friends
all of them.
and family, and yeah, it's good. But Emma, sorry.
Okay, no worries. And so, well, firstly, I just want to say, well done, guys. I think what you're doing and the honesty that you put out on these podcasts is amazing. My story is that my husband took his own life last September, completely out of the blue. And I'm on a bit of a journey to, firstly, to try and work out why, but secondly, to also try and help raise awareness and to try and stop it happening to anybody else. So, again, thank you for all your honesty. And I really do hope that other people listening to your podcast that may be in the same situation that my husband was in will maybe take a step back and find that help. So that's sort of first thing. But my actual question was, I'm doing a fundraising event at the end of September, and I'd actually like if you have any resources, posters or anything that I could put up there to maybe help somebody and bring more awareness to both MATE and Menace to Sobriety on your behalf.
Yeah. Would you like to come on the podcast and talk about it?
Maybe.
Yeah. If you're ever ready or you want to discuss it and stuff, maybe I can help you promote your event there. If not, we can use my social media or the group to promote your event. But by all means, anything that we can do to help, I'm sure Kirk will agree with me and Elliot will do. Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate. I'm quite early on in my journey. Like I'm basically.
I can imagine it's very raw
at the moment. But yeah, my long-term goal is to try and help more people.
I'll talk to you after the event.
Thank
you.
And
we'll work out how I can help you. Definitely.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Emma, yeah, very, very sorry for your loss, and it is very hard for anyone to talk about a loss in a family, especially as sudden as suicide. You know, there's so many answers, unanswered questions. You know, it's so hard, but with the addiction, you do get to a point, and I've been there many times. You literally just you just feel that you can't get nothing right. You know, it's very hard, and it's you feel that there's no way out of drugs. You know, and that's why I've jumped on board with this with Dapper, because I didn't think there was any way out of drugs. You know, and truthfully, near the end of my addiction, before my father died, before I come sober, I literally thought the only way that I will stop doing drugs is dying from an overdose or killing myself. And yeah, that was it, you know. And this is why I've jumped on this platform, because there is no talking someone out of that if they've got no help or advice from other like-minded people. Do you know what I mean? It's very hard, and you know, you got to take some positives out of anything. I take it from my father's death, and hopefully, Emma, you can take it from your partner's death, that they're in no more pain, no more, and whatever you believe, what happens to us after, you know, we are in a better place. and we've took some peace and comfort. But if we can help you with any unanswered questions, you know, I've been there myself. I've tried it, seen it, you know. So yeah, if we can help in any way, and yeah, it's hard, but honestly, I've got nothing but love for you, and you know, God bless you.
Wow, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, you know, should I share this or not? But so 10 years ago, my best friend, he was a bit crazy. We used to go out partying, and at the end of the night, we used to make sure he didn't have any gear left because he would pin it up, right? I could never bring myself to stick a needle in my vein. Somehow he did, and one day I asked him, I said to him, I'm not going to say his name, but I said to him, what do you get from pinning it up? And he said, "El, seeing I'm alive the next day." And I just looked at him, and I was just in shock, and I just didn't know what to say. Anyway, he met this girl, and he fell in love with her, head over heels with her. And they used to go and they used to sniff together and party together, and everything was great. But he taught her how to pin up, how to use coke at the end of the night to put it in the vein. And one day he gets his dealer to drop this off, and he goes to the petrol station. And the dealer's dropped off while he's at the petrol station, and he comes back, and his wife, they got married, and his wife had pinned up, and she had died, an overdose. And a year to the day that she died, and this was a really close friend, a year to the day that she died, we couldn't get hold of him, and we knocked on the door, and he'd taken an overdose. Whether it was intentional or not, I don't really know the answer to that. So, you know, it's something really close to my heart, and I'm passionate about giving back and helping people. And that's why I love it when people, you know, make comments or read things and it helps them. You know, I don't even need to meet them. So if there's something I can do to help you, come and see me after, and I'd love to. That's all I can say.
Thank you, guys. And now we've got Abby with a question. Hey. Oh, shall I read out for... Oh, you ready to go? Yeah, great.
So, again, big thank you from myself and my husband. We've both been deeply affected by addiction in various different ways, and your platform not only reaches lots of men, it definitely communicates messages effectively to women who have been in that boat as well. It's not just guys that get on the sesh. And my question was, how do we, if we've got a relatable, interesting, aspirational story, get on your podcast?
Well, you just fucking talk to me, man.
I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
look,
why we're here.
yeah, let's talk after. I mean, look, there's no big criteria to getting on the podcast. It's like I just want people that have overcome something and have something to share to other people. So if you're game and what, you and your partner.
No, just myself, but I'm with Emma, so we can come and meet you together.
Okay, yeah, we'll have a chat after, and you know, obviously I get a lot of crazy people asked to come. What am I saying? We're all crazy.
One ended up being his co-host.
Yeah, I know. I can't really not let nutters on, right? So I only ask a couple of questions and just like, you know, and yeah, man, let's do it. Look, let's do it. Yeah, let's get on. If you've overcome something and you think it can help people, let's do it.
Yeah, well, you know what we're doing with the podcast is you know, we're just showing it doesn't matter who you are, you know, what your life was before, where your life is now, what sex you are, what race you are. It doesn't matter. You know, we all have a story to tell, and the more that so many different kind of characters tell this same story about addiction and dealing with it, you know, the message is going to get out there more. So yeah, that's all it is. It's a message that we've got, and we're lucky enough to have a big platform to spread it. So more the merrier.
I think that what Kurt just said there is really interesting, because I think the feedback that I get from a lot of my social media is, oh, I do that. It feels like you're talking to me. And I think there's a lot of people out there who we've done similar things or gone through similar things in our life, but we think we're on our own, and we're really not. And I think one of the great things about the Menace to Sobriety, my social media, everything else that's out there, is that people can suddenly identify and go, well, if they got through it and if they've managed to do it, maybe I can do it too. You know, and give some hope to people, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have a chat after. John, any more?
Nice. Yeah, there's two more, and these are both anonymous.
Okay, all right.
All right. So, hello. Okay, so from Lucy, I guess this will be for Kirk because you're dating and you're single at the moment. How do you navigate dating sober?
Yeah, I don't really.
I was going to say, he's always complaining about not getting a laid, so...
So I moved to a whole new area, and you know what? It's just hard. It's hard to... I don't mind it if a partner was to drink or anything like that, but I don't want anyone to feel different around me that they can't do it, you know. And I'm quite honest, if I can't remember when, but if I'm lucky enough to talk to a girl, you know, I've jumped on a dating app, and now I'm on a dating app, Hinge, and you can write if you smoke, you drink, or anything like that. And I don't know why, because drink isn't my problem, but it's just I don't want a potential future partner to feel in any way. I'm looking at these girls' profile pictures, and they're all out having a good time with a Prosecco or a cocktail or whatever in all of their pictures, because that's what people that are non-addicts can do. They can go out, you know, and I won't match these girls or even comment or like their pictures, because I don't want to feel like they have to change their lifestyle to be with me, you know. So it is quite hard, and I believe, it's hard, and with any relationships now, I've got to just wait for the right time, and truthfully, at the moment, mentally, I'm not in a great place to. I'm doing good with most things in my life, but mentally I'm not good for a relationship yet. I've still got a few boxes I need to tick from, I say, my past life, but before my father died, there's still some, you know, creases I need to iron out, and I'm still establishing who I am. So drink or not, if a partner drinks, it's not an issue for me yet, but I don't want to put a girl in a position that she will have to stop drinking or not drink around me to make me feel comfortable, because it's my problem. It's no one else's. That's fucking on one, isn't it?
Kirk, I've got a question for you. So you said that if you met a girl, you wouldn't have a problem if she drank and she had a drink. What about if she was to use the packet? If she used the packet, how would you feel about that?
That's too much.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't, and this is quite bad to say, but I don't want to hang around with girls or guys that do drugs now, you know, a lot. And I'm going to hold my hands up. I'm fucking jealous if someone that can go out and have a drink and a ticket and leave it as that. I really, you know what I mean? I that's the part that would intrigue me about going out and having a mad one, but I can't do that. But yeah, a man or woman doing drugs, friends or relationship.
Interesting how you draw a line between the two, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Well, with the drugs, I just see the bad things that come with it, and that's only from personal experience. But yeah, where drink is not a taboo subject. Do you know what I mean? I feel, I could not. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't hang around with a guy that done coke, so I wouldn't date a girl that done coke, and and I wouldn't want anyone to change. So rather than me interacting with them and saying, I like you, but you've got to stop this. Well, that's unfair, isn't it? You know, that's unfair of me to want to change someone's way of living, even though if I might be doing them a favour, it's not me. Yeah, this is my journey.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That actually covered the other question as well, so I think that is all
Sorry.
the questions. Oh, sorry, I jumped in.
Right.
I ruined the whole night. Okay, sorry.
No, all good. Right, before we wrap up, is there anyone that had one that sprung to mind? Maybe one more to fill the gap? Anyone? At the back there, gentlemen. Right, thank you. The furthest person away. I love that. Yeah.
Hello, mate. My name's Nick, so I'm 10 months sober now.
Well done, man.
Yeah.
I actually, I took your advice, Dan, and
Sorry?
I took your advice and started fighting my inner bitch, actually, recently, because I wrote it into the podcast and you told me, you know, fighting your inner bitch when you're feeling that anxiety. And as someone else was talking, it just sprung to mind. You know, like that's what all those feelings that people are feeling, which I've gone through as well. That's another bit of advice which maybe that person could take. Try and deal with those feelings head on, because I just hid everything through drinking and drugs, you know, and that's what a lot of people tend to do. But I think by fighting those feelings head on, you can make yourself feel a lot better. And the other question I had for you guys was, obviously this is quite an emotional thing, isn't it? And how are you guys coping with taking on everyone else's trauma?
I don't know. It's like counselling for me. So, you know, doing the podcast is like counselling. That's why me and Kurt cry in most episodes. You know, Kirk more than me, but
Just a little bit.
but nah, it's real, man. I like connecting with people. I was with someone. I went to a meeting actually. I don't know if I told you. I went to a meeting last night. Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, and someone that I was there with said that the cure for addiction is connection. Right, a connection with people, with something, connection, you know. So that's why the meetings I think are so good, because when other people are releasing their trauma and the connection to your trauma or what you're going through, or the comments on the podcast, it makes me feel connected. It makes me feel like I've got something in common with someone, and I just feel like I can feel human connection, which is emotional, but. The drink and drugs were the lack of that. That's what the drink and drugs makes you want to, you know, fucking cuddle yourself. You know what I mean? So, I mean, some people's stuff's a little bit quite fucked up. I'm not going to lie, but you know, so am I. You know, it makes me fucking feel not so weird about being fucked up. So it's all right, mate. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm going to be brutal honest. I'm like a sponge, my personality. You know, I try to take on other people's problems even without trying. You know, I sort of got this sort of caring nature from my father, wanting to try and help as many people as I can, even if they didn't want it or know they wanted help. I just have this urge to either host or put a smile on people's face, and I open myself up really with these podcasts, and you know, all the comments that we get, people telling me about their sobriety. I love it, but you know,
there's some stuff.
I get some stuff, you know. I get some dark stuff. Nothing bad to me, but what people are going through. And if I can't help people, I struggle with that. You know. I have multiple people on my Instagram because I'm so open about going through losing a parent to suicide and trying suicide and having suicide ideation myself. You know, I can't judge people for putting their pressure on me because. You know, I'm opening that door up, but yeah, I get. You know, I've had to stop engaging with the real dark ones because it was taking up a big part of my soul. I had a guy kept messaging me. You know, he was telling me how bad his addiction was and stuff, and so I just told him what I'd done because I'm not trained to give anyone advice, so I never will give anyone advice. What I do is I tell you what I've gone through. You know, and I'll tell you what I have done to overcome it. If you choose to take some of them points and use them in your own life, and I hope they do help, but I can never tell someone to do something because we're all different. We're all wired differently. What helps me when I'm suffering with mental health might not help someone else. So, yeah, you know, I've had to ring up the police multiple times for people that have said that goodbyes to me on Instagram, you know, and opened up and it literally puts my life on hold, you know. I had one young guy who messaged me, told me about addiction. I pointed him to CA and said, look, this is what you got to do, buddy. Go to CA. They've got all the answers for you. And then I think he messaged me again, his full name, where he's from, like his area, and said, read the Camden Gazette tomorrow. I'm going tonight. So I remember I was on the motor. I was on A14. I had to pull straight over. I've had to ring the police, try and get through to Camden police. And literally I couldn't sleep that night. But you know, I do take it on, and it gets hard for me sometimes. But we did save the guy's life. The police found him, you know, and the guy messaged me saying thank you. But you know, so but listen, what we've got to look after ourselves, because once you start looking after yourself, you become better people. Once you become better people, the world becomes a better person. So it sounds selfish, but put yourself first for a minute, because once you're good, everyone around you is good, you know. And the minute you start thinking on other people, you forget who you are. Your bad traits start to come out. So, you know, make yourself happy, your surroundings will be happy, and everyone around you will be happy.
I think to answer that question for me, it's slightly different because, you know, this is my profession. This is what I do for a living. You know, I see 60 clients a week, every single week, week in, week out. And it's funny because I meet other psychologists and other therapists, and they say to me, you know, you fucking wear your heart on your sleeve. You know, you tell your clients things. You should just be distant. You should be. And I'm like, that's not the way I work. You know, that's not why I get results, because I'm open to my clients. You know, I talk about my past, and you know, I'm passionate about what I want to do. So for me, it's slightly different because I look at it as a professional context. But do sometimes I go to sleep at night and think about some of the things I heard? Yeah, damn right I do. You know, I had a lady in the other day, and she'd been through an 18-year relationship. I mean, this is quite heart-wrenching. She'd been through an 18-year abusive relationship where the guy had literally punched her in the face, and she showed me pictures on her phone, and kicked her in the head until she did a line, right? Until she did a line. And only when she did a line, he knew that it was going to be the funky chicken tonight, right? And she would carry on doing line after line. And this went on for years and years. And 8 months ago, she left him, and she came to see me to help deal with her addiction and her anxiety and her self-esteem. And yesterday, I put it on my social media, the guy phoned me up from a withheld number. And he was like, you don't know who I am, you don't know who I do, what I do. And I was just like, look, I'm not judging you, I don't know what went on, but I'm here to help your partner, you know, or your ex-partner. And he's like, why don't you helping her? And, you know, I went to bed that night thinking, well, I'm going to fucking help her. I don't give a fuck what you say. You know, I didn't say that to him, so I've got to be professional, but that's what I thought. And that woman played on my mind the whole night thinking about what she'd gone through. So, yeah, sometimes it's difficult to detach yourself. But I think that's what makes you passionate. That's what makes you, you know, that's what makes you good at what you do. That's what makes you connect, as Dan said, with other people. So I think sometimes it's difficult not to take other things on board, but sometimes it's good to take other things on board because it makes you the person you are to be able to help other people in any way, shape or form, however small that may be in the world, you know.
All right, round of applause, please. John, come and join us. Are you all right if I close us out?
Yeah.
First off, I'm going to let you guys go now. I don't know what the time is, if we've overrun or whatever, but everyone that's tuned in live, thank you for joining us. Before I let you go, I just want to say a couple of things. John was there for the first ever podcast, right? And this is a beautiful thing about sobriety. I honestly, for the last 10 years, I've been trying to rebuild my career and just been hitting brick walls. And I truly believe in karma. I'm a big karma believer. I believe I didn't deserve second chances at a lot of things. I made a lot of mistakes. You know, I said a lot of stupid stuff, whatever. But the karma, right? And through deciding to do the podcast and meeting John's also a producer for TV. I got a gig on TV, and through doing the gig on TV, I got linked up. Well, somebody that turned me down a long time ago come back to me and got me my comeback tour after 10 years, 30 dates around the UK, which
tickets on sale now,
which are going out in January. But the point of and then me and John then started writing a film that we're going into post-production about sobriety, addiction, and everything. A drama. Obviously, I'm making films, but this one's not a comedy. It's a passionate film. So my point being is that so much positive stuff can come from doing positive things. But I just wanted to say thank you to John. Give him a round of applause, please.
Thank you, my friend.
It's been
great work with you. I've been enjoying it.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you for having me.
And it's true. You do good things. You start turning your life around and good things happen. Kirk, thank you for being so raw and opening up.
Thank you very much. Honestly, it's all this is good is give me a purpose, you know, and you know what, anyone that walks out that door tonight, your life can change the second you walk out of that door. I promise you, you can wake up this morning a new person, you know. If anyone is new to sobriety, is anyone a week sober today or a week? Can everyone give a clap for this week's sobriety?
Wow.
You know,
I love that.
Anyone months or multiple years on sobriety? There we go, give another clap.
Wow.
You know, well done to all of yous.
And Elliot, mate, I'm sure you're going to say to me in a minute that you're fucking booked on the next one of these or something. But any closing words, mate?
I just want to say thank you to some of my clients who came here this evening. I really appreciate all of you and everything you've gone through, and well done. Dan, thank you always. It's always good to be with you because I love your open, honest, and just transparency. I think that's what I really admire about you, and great respect for you. Kirk, always a pleasure. And I really appreciate all you being here tonight. That's it.
All right. Get yourself someone to offload onto. Me and Kirk are brilliant at doing it. The fucker calls me every day. I call him every day. Bad comments. He texts me things that have happened. He tells me we offload constantly onto. That's probably why we're both a couple of cranks. Find yourself someone that you can offload onto and ask them to offload onto you. It makes me feel great that he offloads onto me. You know, when he sends all his shit that he's going through, I think, he's picked me again. No, he's picked me to talk about. So that's my leaving comment. Find someone to offload onto. We're going to stick about if anyone wants to come and say hello afterwards. But thank you so much. That was the first ever live podcast. Stay tuned and we'll be back again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, big shout out to Mooch, the producer.
Moochie,
Mooch. Thank you.